Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. How was the week? Was it smooth? Anything productive? Have you had some time to look through some of my episodes? And have you learned one or two things about some of the lessons I've learned? Or how you can be a little bit more kind or more graceful towards your neighbor? I think I mentioned something about existential crisis, and I said that I was going to look into that or say something about it in my coming episodes. Well, today I'll be speaking about how I confronted existential crisis. Well, I'm sure this is not something new to some of us. A couple of us must or should have been familiar with it. Existential crisis, in a layman word, I would say maybe uncertainty about life or not having clue about what's going on around you. Like, why am I here? What am I doing here? Why are we all existing on this earth? And if I want to go according to maybe a dictionary, I'll probably say existential crisis is a period of deep questioning and reflection about, the meaning, the purpose, the value of our lives or our existence. It often arises when one is faced with uncertainties about their identity, about some of their actions, or where they belong in this world. Personally, I would say it's a natural part of being human. A lot of people go through it at some point in their lives, and it can lead to a profound personal growth and understanding. Existential crisis for me happened, or I would say it happens occasionally, once in a blue moon. It was more intense at a time when a relationship I once invested in had to end for some unknown reason. I'd made life decisions supporting this relationship, so after it ended, I became overwhelmed with all kinds of feelings, and I didn't know how to heal. As I was going through my healing process, I began to question the meaning of life. Why am I here? What's my purpose? What's my place in this world? I have to answer some really tough questions about my life, who I am, where I'm coming from, where I'm going. And here are 12 things that helped me to navigate and manage existential crisis such that whenever it pops up for any reason, I know exactly where to start from or what I can do in the spur of the moment. The first thing is I acknowledge the feeling. If you've been listening to most of the things I've been sharing, you know definitely that acknowledgement seems to always come first. A lot of times we live in self-denial. If you're living with someone and someone is hurting you, and you're like, you are hurting me. If they don't accept the fact that they are hurting you, if they say sorry to you, it doesn't make sense. The person needs to understand that, okay, this is how I made her feel. I'm sorry. But if they just say they're sorry, they're going to do it again. But when you come to a point where you acknowledge your feelings, it's like you saying, here is the problem. And I acknowledge that this problem exists. If you do not acknowledge that that problem exists, you're not going to find a solution to it. So I came to a stance, accepting fact that I was having an existential crisis. Depending on how religious you are, you may deny it. Yeah, I know we Christians, we do that a lot. In the process of trying to stay positive, it's not my portion, I do not have a special crisis. Yeah, you may not give it a name, you can call it something else. You can even say it doesn't have a name, and that's okay. But I knew that admitting it was my first step towards addressing it, so I did just that. The second thing I did was I needed to unpack the big question. I got my journal, I wrote down all the questions popping up in my head, and I began to search through my mind to tackle them. Questions like, why do certain things happen? How did I get into this situation that I'm in? What could I have done differently or better? I put them all into small manageable parts, and I started with focusing on aspects that I felt were more approachable in that instance. And the things that I think I could control. For the things I felt I couldn't control, I also placed them in another category for a later introspection. The third thing was I felt the need to reflect on my core values as a person, because understanding or identifying our core values is really crucial. It helps you to know who you even want to be with. It helps you to know who you even want to be friends with. The things that truly mattered to me, I needed to come to a conscious understanding of what they are. What are my values? What's my position about this? What's my passion in life? What's my belief? I spent time reflecting on who I was before the relationship, who I was while in that relationship, and who I became after the relationship. I began to think about what brings me fulfillment. And this reflection helped me to provide the clarity that I needed in order to move forward, because I was kind of stuck. The fourth thing I did was speaking to someone I trust. I had to speak to someone because many times for me, even when I'm making progress, I still need a soundboard, because sometimes I'm like, am I making sense? So I have an old devoted friend whom I usually share every of my thoughts with. My friend was able to provide me with new perspectives, insights, emotional support that I needed at that time. We went through everything about me together, and after every conversation, I always felt better because I'd forgotten who I was. My friend was able to tell me, this is who you are, this is what you represent, this is this, this is that. And some of the conversations that came up in those moments confirmed some of the assignments I had already done in terms of highlighting my core values, ask myself those big questions. So they kind of corroborated. Then the fifth one was I reminded myself about life's uncertainty. Considering everything I've been through in life, I had to remind myself that life can be unpredictable, and so don't take everything with too much seriousness. I began to relearn and accept and embrace the uncertainty with which I was surrounded, so that I could feel more at peace. Yeah. And then another thing I did was setting new achievable goals. At this point, I needed to focus on me. So I started creating those tiny little SMART goals again. I was more focused on achieving the short-term goals, at least something to show progress. And this helped me to shift my attention a bit on the progress that I was making, instead of the long-term goals that may not happen right now. And it's easy for you to feel like you're a failure when all you're channeling your energy on is the long-term goals in that kind of situation. So setting new achievable goals provided me with that sense of accomplishment and direction. Another thing was limiting overthinking. This was a tough one because with everything that I've experienced in life, it's natural for me to overthink things. You know, in the course of viewing things from different perspectives, from this perspective, oh my God, I can even create a new problem out of an existing problem. It was so easy for me to overthink everything. I created scenarios that didn't happen, and it appeared I was overanalyzing the whole situation. The weird thing about overanalyzing the whole situation was this was creating more anxiety, and the anxiety kept crumbling me. So at some point, I had to speak to myself. Once I catch myself overthinking, so can you stop it? Instead, I focus on actions or experiences that brings me joy or peace. I also spent time traveling. I spent time traveling through Europe. I just needed to see new places, meet new people. This helped me to reduce anxiety. I had other things that was bothering me that wouldn't let me be so engrossed in all the things that went wrong with the relationship. Oh, I'm a bad person. Oh, what did I do? What did I say? That wasn't the crucial thing in that moment. Traveling really helped me to have new perspectives about life, reduce anxiety, and it offered me a sense of connection to something larger than myself. Then I began to realize that there's more. There's more to this world. There's more beyond all the rejection you've gotten. There's more beyond the failure you're experiencing. I took a break from social media. That's another one. I spent less time reading news. I was just not interested. Any news you will catch me reading would probably be, okay, I'm visiting a place, okay, what's happening in this place, just to be aware of my environment. I spent time away from social media platforms, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. I was just focused on me. The only people around me were people that I was seeing every day, my friends, and few people who knew, okay, this happened, I'm trying to process things. I also took my personal growth more seriously, both my personal growth, my personal development, and physical development. I started a podcast, I started a website, I started speaking life to others, even while I was hurting, and this gave me a renewed sense of purpose and reminded me of the positive impact that I could make in the world. I also took classes with Zumba dance, swimming classes, yoga. Yeah, and all of this kept me really busy. I realized growth can be empowering. Focusing on yourself alone sometimes might be a really nice thing to be able to find yourself again. The 11th thing was I spent time reflecting on mortality constructively. I know a lot of people avoid mortality thoughts. Well, it's not a bad thing to reflect on humans' mortality. Having the reflection that everything is vanity upon vanity. You want to be this, you want to be that, or you want to be, let's say you want to be a doctor, and all you can achieve is being a lab technician. It's not the end of the world. I'm not asking you not to be ambitious. When you spend some time actually reflecting on mortality, how people just sleep and don't wake up, how people just go out and don't come back. What are we struggling with? So all of this, just helped me to develop a greater appreciation for the present moment, and it motivated me to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. The last but not the least was I engaged my faith. I have always been a faith person. I think my life is based on faith. I do things without knowing what the outcome would be. I just go because I know I'm like, God, I know you are with me. I started finding meaning in everyday life. I spend more time in prayer, communing with my maker, finding joy and purpose in little things, everyday aspects of life, just sleeping and waking up. I also took a new apartment. I designed it, I set it up the way I loved. With the little I had, I just wanted to make my space beautiful. And every time I go out and come back in, I'm just in love with my apartment. I don't want to be anywhere else. So when you do all of these little things that I've mentioned while going through an existential crisis, I think it will help you find more meaning. It will help you find more clarity. It will help you find more purpose, like why you're here. Yes. So, dear you, I hope you're not facing existential crisis, but peradventure you are. Please know again that you're not alone, and it is normal. It is part of human experience. Thank you again, and look forward to our next episode. I don't know what exactly it will be yet, but just keep an open heart. Have a lovely week ahead. Thank you. Bye.